Before we can continue working on our jack-o'-lantern, we need to talk about value. Value is the dark and the light areas of your drawing. Now this will often show a shadow and make your drawings look more realistic. So before we can add value to our pumpkins, I want you to create a gradient of your values. So I'm starting by pushing really, really hard on the left end of my rectangle. And on the right end, I'm going to be barely touching the paper. This is going to be the lightest of my value. Then all in between, I'm going to slowly transition from that dark color all the way over to the light color. And I want to try to make this as smooth of a transition as I can. So I may have to go back and forth, until I'm happy with how it looks. Now I'm going to start using a colored pencil to make another value scale gradient. I want you to create these two gradients on a separate piece of paper before we start adding value to our jack-o'-lantern. Remember, if you need to lighten an area, you can always grab an eraser and erase a little bit of that to lighten it up. It works on colored pencil and pencil. Now, one way to make this a little bit more smoother of a transition is to use your finger and rub it against the gradient. It works a little bit better on pencil than colored pencil, so keep that in mind when you're doing this. Okay, now let's start adding value to our jack-o'-lanterns. We're going to start by making a shadow. So I decided my light source is going to be on the right side of my paper. So the shadow is going to start going towards the left side of the paper. Our shadow is going to be the darkest shade of our entire artwork. Now we're going to start adding shadows to the ridges of our jack-o'-lantern. These are going to be on the left side of each shape that we created with these lines. So here I'm starting at the far left. This is going to be the darkest part. I'm going to be adding the darkest part of each ridge to the left to begin with. Now I'm going to add a shadow that is being cast from the stem. That's going to go to the left since my light source is on the right. And I'm going to fill this in as dark as I can with my pencil. I'm just blending that into the shadow of my farthest back ridge. Now make a gradient in each of these ridges. So you already started with that darkest part. Now just keep going lighter and lighter until you hit that darkest part that's going to be the next ridge. You're going to have a bunch of gradients here. Now I'm going to add value to my stem. So I'm going to start the darkest on the left part of this cylinder shape, and I'm going to go lighter and lighter until I reach the right end. And on the top, I'm just going to shade that with the darkest being on the left side and the lightest being on the right side. And then you've shaded your stem. Now I'm taking an eraser and I'm going to add some highlights. So the lightest parts. I'm going to add this to the right side of each ridge on my pumpkin. This is really going to make your pumpkin look more realistic. Now I'm taking my finger and I'm going to blend all of my value shades together just a little bit. So now we're going to create a background, and I want you to just lightly color that in with your pencil, or if you chose to use a colored pencil, with your colored pencil. I'm adding a little spider web now. You can add a spider web, or some of you already added one, and you can add more into your background if you would like to. And here is my finished jack-o'-lantern.